Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm extremely happy to give here, for the first time, my paper here in Collège de France, or Collège de France. Thank you very much, and thank you to organizers of conference to inviting me. So my paper is Orlat Images, Interpretation, and Afterlife. The Orlat belt set, which was found in 1981 on the territory of the Samarkand region of Uzbekistan, is in one of the nomadic burial mounds, became a kind of sensation after the publication of Galina Antonovna Pugachenko. So here is place where Orlat burial ground is situated. It's about 50 kilometers to the northwest from Samarkand. It is well known to specialists around the world, these objects. Much has been written and said about the purpose of these bone plates, their dating and belonging to a particular range of cultures. Without going into the discussion, in which I also took an active part, I will only remind you that, in my opinion, this is a belt set here. So, Kurgan-Tepe archaeological site, and here on these mounds is Orlat burial ground is situated, and some views to the site and to this burial ground. And this where this belt set was found, this object which were there found. So this is a belt set. It is dated within the second centuries AD. In cultural and historical terms, it belongs to the circle of Kangyu tribes. Here you can see these objects. It's two big plates with battle stand, scene, and with hunting, and small ones with such depictions. Today I would like to consider the Orlat plates not in terms of analyzing the realities depicted, such as armament, costume, and horse harness, but as an object of art historical analysis. More than 40 years ago, when the plates were discovered during the excavations of the Uzbekistan Art History Expedition of the Institute of Art Study, there was only one known bone object connected with nomadic burial rites and decorated with an anthropomorphic image on the territory of ancient Sogdiana. This one. This is a fragment of plate which Obelchenko found in the early 1950s during excavations of Kurgan 19 of the Kuyumazar burial ground in the Bukhara region. This fragment of a plate, possibly a belt plate, was found lying on an iron sword. An image of bearded man in kaftan was engraved on it. This rather sketchy image can hardly be called a masterpiece. Nevertheless, this find showed for the first time that this type of artistic craftsmanship existed among the Kangyu nomads who extended their power to the Sogdian oasis during the first centuries BC. The discovery of plates of a belt set with highly artistic scenes of hunting, battle, a duel of two foot soldiers, a fight of Bactrian camels, and a vulture sitting on the prey in the Orlat burial mound number 2 was of outstanding importance. It was a great help for researchers who obtained a source rare in its informative richness. Despite the unique style of images where realism and meticulous detailing are combined with free interpretation of proportions and rejection of superfluous elements. For example, the second legs of warriors and for instance, of warriors and hunters. The Orlat engravings can be called true masterpieces of ancient art. For many years, they became the brightest manifestation of a mastery of a brilliant but nameless artist, whom some researchers consider a representative of the expressive art of nomads, while others consider a refined urban master. Yet for decades, they remained one of a kind, which gave rise to some doubts about the existence of developed artistic bone carving among the Kangyu. And this may have created notions that the Orlat plates were a product of urban craftsmanship, some one-time action, and so on. Some of colleagues even saw them as the work of a Chinese master who lived in Samarkand. As comparative material, ivory plates from Takhti Sangin in southern Tajikistan, found in 1979, were constantly used by specialists. They are decorated with depictions of mounted hunt and were regarded by Boris Anatolyevich Litvinsky as casket walls, while in our opinion they are belt plates. An analogous object were found in situ in 2010 at the Tilla Bulak archaeological site, which allowed to completely abandon the idea of the casket. We must remember that these items belong to another region, northern Bactria, and to a different cultural and historical environment. We must admit, however, that there are correspondences of Reale depicted on the Takhti Sangin plates and those found in Sogdiana, and their dates are probably very close to each other. Therefore, their comparison, of course, are valid. A sample of bone carving, more precisely it is an antler, was found during the excavations on Khorezm archaeological and ethnographic expedition at the site of Kalali Gir in Turkmenistan. A number of details bring the carved scenes closer to our material, but there are also differences. The date suggested by Bela Ilyich Novemberg and Sergei Balelov, 2nd century BC, makes the Kalali Gir object so far the earliest in the series of work considered by us. Fortunately, in recent years, thanks to the archaeological research of our colleagues from Kazakhstan, materials have been obtained that expand the source base of Kangyu bone carving. First, in 2015, during excavations led by Groshev at the Kızılbulag 4 settlement in the Turgen Gorge near Almaty, a plate measuring 15 by 7 centimeters from a horse shovel with an engraved composition, in some details extremely similar to the Orlat images, was found. Here is composition. The item was found in a dwelling of semi-dugout type dating from the Wusun period. Despite the fact that the item comes from Semirechye, that is from Wusun territory, Yatsenko and his co-authors are confident that it is of Kangyu origin and came to the Wusun either as a gift or as a trophy or as a local imitation of Kangyu iconography. In Yatsenko's interpretations, the Kızılbulag composition represents an episode from a legend in which a tribal leader receives in his nomadic camp a warlord sent to fight a rebel from among their own tribesmen. Yeah. The mighty warrior copes with the task and hands the chieftain the trophy, the enemy's head. Secondary, judging by their scale characters, also take part in the encounter, one of whom is clad in the plate armor. Yeah. With a high collar and a helm. Each of them raises his hand in greeting the hero, as does their leader, who clutches a dagger in his right hand, preparing to scalp the enemy's head. On the upper left, a poorly preserved image of an eagle watching this scene, symbolizing the leader's ruling status. Yeah. Another remarkable discovery of great importance for the corpus of sources pertaining to our theme was just made in 2021. This is the discovery in the Kurgan 14 of the Kilish Jar burial ground in South Kazakhstan of two middle coverings on a composite bow, decorated with engraved images of a mounted archer hunting mountain rams, as well as a ram attacked by a predator. Yeah. The work was conducted by the Center of Archaeology of the South Kazakhstan State Pedagogical University, Chimkent, under the direction of the extremely lucky archaeologist Alexander Padushkin. His previous outstanding discovery, bricks with early Sogdian inscriptions from Kultobe, initiated a real revolution in Sogdology, as well as in the history of Kangri. In Mount 14, a T-shaped or so-called Kenkel-type catacomb was unearthed with remains of the looted paired burial. Padushkin dated his new finds within the 1st century BC, 2nd century AD. It's again, I can show you. So the central coverings on the bow recorded in situ are made of antler. The length of the plates is 24 centimeters with width of 3 centimeters and a thickness of 0.5 centimeters. One of the plates shows a rider shooting at full gallop from a bow and two mountain rams wounded by arrows. The direction of pursuit is from left to right, but the archer, apparently for symmetry, is depicted in the center, not in the left part of the scene. The ram wounded in the head to the left of the rider was thus wounded first and could not run farther. The rider overtakes him, chasing the next ram, wounds it in the side, and prepares to fire another arrow to finish off the catch. Yeah. The scene is full of dynamism. The frantic pace of what is happening is conveyed through the flying gallop of the mare. Yeah. This corresponds exactly to the artistic techniques used by the master of Orlat plates. And a number of details, such as parts of clothing, armament, horse equipment, etc., also have analogies and correspondences. For example, the short kaftan with broadly plated flaps and cuffs, here and here. A compound bow with straight horns. Padushkin called it an M-shaped reflex box bow here. Yeah. A goritus consisting of 4 parts, 2 compartments for arrows, a case for the bow in the transportation position, and a full case for the bow in the fighting position, propeller-like cheek pieces, here and here you can see, a tassel on the headband, here and here, and a large single tassel flying on the left side of the saddle, here, here, and here. Of course, there are also certain differences in both reality and stylistic of images, which is quite natural. Let us note them too. In the image of riders, the difference in hairstyle attract attention. In the Orlat hunters, if the Orlat hunters have their hair slicked back and evenly trimmed at the level on the back of the head, yeah. The Collège hunter's hair is gathered into a fluffy bundle. Yeah. In terms of hair length, this hairstyle rather corresponds to the hair of the characters from the Kizil Bulak plate, here, whose neck is completely covered by hair at the back. Whereas the Orlat hunters and warriors have their mustaches pulled down, the Kiziljar are curled up in musketeers way here. At the same time, the bird is shown rather simplified, reminiscent of the bird of Kuyumazar character here. Orlat horses are distinguished by the elongated proportions of the head and humped profile. Oh, no, not here. Here. With the Kilichjar mare has a shortened muzzle with a straight profile. So if you can see. She has 2 undertail harness with phalera, which is a unique phenomenon in itself. Okay, I will not show you. There is an interesting detail of the hairstyle of Kilichjar rider. A strand of hair hanging from his temple. A similar strand is part of the hairstyle of a ruler named Ashtat, whose coins Alexander Naimark recently associated with Nakhchap, Shapaya, that is a principality that occupied the territory of the modern Karshi oasis in the Kashkadari region of Uzbekistan. Here. Naimark believed that Ashtat was a ruler of nomadic origin, called his skulls whiskers, and dated the issue of coin up to the second half of the 1st century AD. On the portrait of Ashtat, we see both a twisted mustache and lush hair at the back of his head. Here. But unlike the rider from Kilichjar, his beard is carefully shaven. Such details of hairstyle may seem insignificant, but the parallel between the image of rider from the indigenous lands of Kangyu and the Nakhchap ruler Ashtat may interest those who believe that Nakhchap, Kesh, Samarkand, Bukhara, and possibly Khorazm oases were subordinated to the so-called nomadic Kangyu Empire. So finds from Bukharan and Samarkand soaked Kuyumazar and Orlat, from the Alis River Valley, Kilichjar, and Semiriye Kizilbulak 4 allow us to outline the area where the carved bone products with technical and stylistic similarity were found. The geographical and chronological frames allow us to talk about the existence of bone carving art, which we probably have the right to call kangu, bone carving art, and to express the hope that further accumulation of such material will allow us to reveal this part of the culture of ancient nomads who conquered the blooming oasis of Sogdiana. Now I would like to propose an interpretation of the subject matter of the Orlat plates. I think that these images could not be considered as 5 separate, unconnected drawings. We should consider that a belt was not only a personal accessory and a garment, but also had a deep symbolic meaning in the ancient and medieval times. It was both a means of physical protection of the most vulnerable parts of human body and a talisman that provided all-round protection against penetration of evil forces and spirits, and also an award that a ruler could reward for exploits and faithful service, and a sign of status, official position of this or that official, and a symbol of service and subordination to the master from whom the belt was obtained. Therefore, its decoration was treated with appropriate attention. Accordingly, the images on Orlat belt are not a random set of subjects, but a statement of a certain narrative program, understandable both to the wearer of the belt and to those who surrounded him. For example, a legend or an epic song that had ethical and didactic significance for the society. Being quite aware that I'm entering the field of speculation, I would like to offer a variant of a possible reading of the plot encrypted on the Orlat plates. So, legend could be about a tribal chief and his 2 sons who went on a big hunt. With their father to find out which of the young men was the best rider, archer, and hunter, and which of them would be the chief's successor. After a long ride across the steppes and mountains, during which they shoot many game and demonstrate their prowess, their father makes his difficult choice. However, either immediately or after chief's death, the brother who was not put up with his father's decision goes to war against the brother who has become his successor. An internecine battle lasts long, in which neither man or horse is spared and rivers of blood are poured out. All that we can see here. They were fighting on horseback and on foot, fighting with fierce fury like rutting camels, and the fight. Finally, after many glorious warriors have been killed, the battle subsides, and the survivors have no strength to bury their tribesmen, as is their custom, digging a catacomb in the ground and heaping a mound on top. And then heavenly messengers, huge vultures, descend from upper world. Whose job is to clear the earth of the mortal flesh of the fallen. The young leader who has won the fratricidal battle orders to compose a song about it as an edification for posterity, so that no more son goes against his father's will, and brother against brother. Approximately this could be the plot, the knowledge of which allowed the contemporaries of the owner of the Orlat belt to read it easily based on several key scenes. In the mentioned bone engraving from Kizilbula, Sergei Yatsenko sees an episode from an ethnopolitical legend, also dealing with internecine struggle of the Kangyu clans. In his opinion, the bird of prey on the left side of scene is an eagle, symbolizing the royal power of the leader, who accepts the trophy while sitting in his carriage. But if we recognize in this bird a vulture, watching the event in anticipation of its time, it will bring the subject lines and symbolism of two works of Kangyu bone carving art under consideration even closer. Perhaps new finds of similar works will allow us in the future to better understand the semantics of unique objects presented to your attention. In conclusion, I would like to tell you that the Orlat characters have taken on a life of their own. That is, they have ceased to be a purely scientific phenomenon, but have taken their place in the modern artistic process as well. This distinctive second life was found in the works of contemporary artists from various countries who were inspired by the rugged warriors and skilled hunters depicted by the unnamed Kangyu master about 2,000 years ago. They were embodied in drawing, here for instance, and painting, like this, in monumental sculpture, that's, for instance, in Astana, and even in jewelry, here and here. I believe that the Orlat findings will continue to inspire both scientists and artists for a long time to come. And these are true masterpieces, as these are true masterpieces of the ancient art of Uzbekistan. Thank you for your attention.
Bon, merci Jangar, et vous avez tous pu apprécier à la fois la richesse du propos, l'intérêt extraordinaire de ce matériel pour une partie extrêmement peu connue. Pour moi-même, j'ai eu accès en fait aux nouvelles plaques de Kızılbuğaç juste en fait l'année dernière à l'occasion de mon séminaire, grâce à un message envoyé par mon collègue Alexandre Podouchkine, qui venait de faire les découvertes. Et puis vous avez apprécié aussi l'extrême clarté de la présentation, très inspirante. Et vraiment, merci Jangar pour... Jangar était intimidé, il ne souhaitait pas que son intervention soit enregistrée en visioconférence, parce que il pensait pas que l'intérêt le justifiait. Mais ce qu'on vient d'entendre montre qu'il avait tout à fait tort dans son jugement sur lui-même. Alors, je vais appeler donc les questions et commentaires. On a un petit peu de temps, là, enfin on est un peu en avance sur l'horaire, donc je vais appeler les questions et commentaires de l'assistance qui peuvent être soumis soit en anglais, auquel cas Jangar pourra répondre directement, soit en français, et je traduirai. Et puis j'aurai moi-même ensuite une ou deux remarques à faire.